Hey there, welcome to Pop Culture Cupid.
I'm Alison, love coach, here to help you single people find your way back to love.
And I'm Michal, I'm a single life coach. I help singles embrace themselves and their singleness, as well as develop a healthy self relationship.
In this podcast, we will look at how pop culture impacts romance, dating, and your love life.
And each week we'll shoot another arrow through another pop culture delusion.
I thought we weren't going to do the whole cheesy thing.
And then burst into smithereens.
Oh my god, dude, that's so cringe!
Sorry, it's in the intro now.
If you make it through the chaos and you enjoy what you hear, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and go to all the social media.
At Pop Culture Cupid on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy! Hello, hello, hello.
Hey! So after half an hour of technical difficulty, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm frustrated, but I'm good. I'm actually, I miss the days when those were my biggest troubles. When that was what, like, those kind of things that would concern me most. So may that be my biggest problem and biggest issue in life. So how about you? How are you doing?
Listen, I'm pretty tired. JT and Julia, so Julia slept over last night and
Ah, fun.
she's got chicken pox.
Ooh,
And it's just
wow.
she's only 3, so for the people tuning in, Julia is my boyfriend's daughter. And yeah, so she's only 3, and so she has chicken pox, and it's hellish. Poor baby. So we are on a low energy kind of just
Yeah.
yeah, but
Well,
it's
hmm?
all is good otherwise.
Yeah, hopefully we can lift each other up
Yes.
by talking about a lot of fun stuff.
I have one of my clients, a guy that I coach, he's 28, and so he's never had a proper girlfriend. And so that's why he came to me, and I've been helping him for 7 months. And I usually say it takes about 6 months, more or less, just because, you want to heal all the things that need to be healing and anything. Anyway, yesterday he went on his 3rd date with this girl, and he sent me 10 1-minute voice notes, and I was like, oh my god, I can't listen to them right now. And he wrote a text saying, it's all very good, I'm very excited, it went really well. So I'm very excited to listen to these voice notes of just him.
Yeah, but 10?
Yes,
Whew,
it's a lot, but
whew.
it's exciting for him, so I'm happy about that. I'm
No,
happy.
I know. But sometimes you need to learn how to contain your excitement. Well, I hope he's not sending her 10 messages in a row like that, because
Yeah,
that would like
it's what
be
I told
a
him.
big no-no.
It's one of the things that I suggest to my clients, where I say, if ever you feel the need to write many messages to the person that you're dating, don't do it
Hmm.
to them, do it to me.
Yeah,
And this guy, I will probably listen to that. I'll just put, I'll fast forward the messages, and I'll listen to them quickly. But
yeah.
more often than not, I don't even
Well,
respond. It's them needing to just,
to vent,
let it
yeah.
out.
Well,
Um,
thank God for the WhatsApp speed update where you
yes.
can speed up the audio. I'm like, I don't listen to anyone's audio on like one anymore, unless it's my nieces or nephew who send me a message by their parents, and then I'll listen to it multiple times on one.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't.
but
Yeah, there's a select few that I listen to, speed 1. Otherwise, yeah, it's speed 2. So anyway, very exciting, very exciting.
yeah, that is exciting. It's fun to help someone on their journey to finding love, especially when it's their first time in a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's funny, because when I started coaching and things, I was targeting women, because I was thinking, girl power, and I'm a woman that went through a whole journey of
Yeah.
dating the wrong men. I thought I can help women, through this. And it just came about that after a while I realized that only men kind of gravitated towards me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, so I just kind of started helping men more than I did women. I would love to help more women, but it's just men that needed it. And you see that they have, the men that ask for help are men that are they're the real good guys, that they can feel that they're a
Hmm.
good guy, but they're not the victimized good guy of just, "Oh, I'm a good guy, I don't know what's going on." And they're not these overly arrogant, confident guys. They're just in this middle ground of, I want to be good, but I also want to show confidence, and I don't know how because blah blah blah. And so yeah, and so and so this guy is kind of the epitome of that. And it's, yeah, it was exciting to just kind of, I don't know if exciting is the right word, but interesting to just help him on his journey of realizing what he's been doing wrong and what he's been doing right and things like that. So it's,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
important to understand in your, because a lot of times we don't we get lazy, or we don't feel like we're the ones in the wrong, or we don't feel like we want to change anything. But it's important to take time to understand in a process of any kind what we are. I don't know if wrong and right is the right term, but what we need to work on, what needs to be done better, what we need to change, what we need to remove completely. And I find it interesting that you're saying that mostly men were gravitating towards you. And I feel like that's something that has changed in the past few years, where, and I see it in the men in my life right now, where men are struggling more to find a woman than a woman is to find a man. And a lot of times women are discovering that they don't need men as much. So they're not as desperate anymore to find a man. And it is the men now who are sort of struggling to find relationships with women and to hold on to them.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would pick up on two things that you said. One thing about what is it that you're doing wrong and things like that. And I agree, it's not a matter of doing something wrong, but it's a matter of considering where you are today. So single,
Hmm.
in a relationship, going out a lot, whatever, and being honest with yourself about, are you happy in this situation? Are you happy
Yeah.
being single or with this person, or sleeping around or things like that, which there's nothing negative about any of it. It's just, what works for other people may not necessarily work for you. And so you may not be doing anything wrong, but if the
Hmm.
situation you are in is not good for you, then you want to be changing your behavior. And this is what this guy was doing, and it's what many people are doing. It's just like, well, what am I doing wrong? Well, you're not doing anything wrong. There's
Yeah.
nothing fundamentally wrong, but let's just tweak some things. Let's just, for example, this guy, at the beginning we were talking about how often did he go out, how often did he spend time with other single people, so that you'd go out for drinks and things like that. And he'd be like, oh well, I go out. He was more often than not out doing stuff.
Hmm.
And it's like, but are you with single? And it took a while for him to admit to me that he would only be seeing the same group of people who would never want to be, who were single but did not want to be in relationships, or always did things with like only guys and never went to go to places where there could be women. And he'd sign up for these various activities where there'd be only guys, and it's just, so it's not, you're not
Yeah.
doing that wrong. I mean, if you want to do it, it's great, but that's not helpful with meeting women. Um, and it's saying it now like this, it seems obvious, but when you're in it and kind of figuring everything out, and he's so adamant that that's not the wrong route, then it's difficult to kind of just pick it out. And because he would refuse to even talk about it, he would be like, no, no, that's not it. I want help with Tinder, and I want help with picking up women. you know, he had this idea at a florist's where he was buying roses for Mother's Day, and the girl or woman selling flowers, he wanted to buy her a flower, and I said that's a great idea. You know, you can just
Yeah.
ask her what her favorite flower is, and that's a great idea. But all of the other things he wasn't doing, you know, in the best way. So anyway, it's observing what you're doing and seeing what, you know, what works. And then yeah, you said something
Yeah.
about the men needing help. And I think it's because women have become so good about expressing their needs and expressing and being, you know, very clear and in today's society, that men have not learned that. And I think that's the consequence.
Yeah. As well as, I think I've said this before, and I've said it a few times in different forms. I believe that men won't go and talk about their emotions and feelings and what they're going through with other men. They
Yeah,
just, most of them just don't do that. I don't want to generalize here, but most, let's say, heterosexual men won't talk about their feelings with their male guy friends.
yeah,
And so they inherently need women for that emotional aspect. And usually they won't share their emotions with just any woman, maybe if it's a really close friend. So most of them, I think, rely on relationships to have that emotional outlet as well.
yeah,
Whereas for a woman, many times I would prefer to talk to my best friend than my boyfriend. Not always, but there's certain things maybe. But in general, women feel more comfortable talking about their emotions
yeah.
and feelings and what they're going through with their female friends. So they don't need that emotional outlet in a relationship. So I feel like that's the difference between men and women. And you were saying beforehand about your client coming and tell you, no, I don't need that. This is what I need. I need help in certain aspects. And I've had that a lot also with people that I was talking to and trying to help, where they think they know what they need help in and where they need to change, but they don't really. And I see this a lot in a lot of different aspects, is that people see and hear the truth they want and not the truth they need. And so it's important. That is why it's important to get an outside perspective to see things objectively of where you really are needing to work and change things and where the issue actually is. And if you're not going out to, I mean, if your objective is to meet someone and you're not putting yourself in a place where you can meet someone, well, it's the same kind of predicament of wishing to win the lottery and not actually filling out a ticket.
Yeah,
So,
it's a fantastic way of putting it. Is, you know, when I talk to people a lot, and so my clients, I give advice, and I push them in a certain direction because, you know, that's what they pay me for. When it comes to friends and family, it's kind of different. And, you know, I don't, you know, I ask them, are you asking me as a friend or me as a coach? Because the
yeah,
answers will be different. And they often say friend because they know that if they ask the coach, then they're probably not going to be happy with the answer, because they're not ready to kind of hear that they are the ones that need to be doing the effort. And what I say is,
yeah,
I agree, it goes both ways, whether it's, you know, men talking to women or women talking to women, men talking to men, whatever. I will give advice about what you need to do to make it work and all of the efforts that you need to do. And sometimes people will say, what about them? I'm like, well, the thing is that you're the one talking to me and you're the one that's unhappy about it. So I agree that the other person should probably be also, you know, putting in some effort. But if they don't see a problem with the situation and you're the one that's unhappy with the situation, then you're the one that needs to put in the effort, not them. And if then, you know, it depends if you're unhappy and things like that, of getting out of a relationship and, you know, this and that. But, you know, a good example is, you know, me and my boyfriend, we are, you know, what I consider to be a very good and healthy relationship. And sometimes, you know, we won't communicate in a very clear way. He doesn't mind it. He doesn't really care about, you know, if we're clear about who's going to do the shopping or who's going to who or whatever. He doesn't mind it. It doesn't
Oh,
impact.
that would drive me crazy.
I agree. It drives me crazy. But then because he doesn't see a problem with it, you know, he's not, I can't really expect him to go out of his way to adapt. I need to, you know, I'm the one that needs to make myself clearer. I'm the one that needs to just kind of adapt to him because I'm the one that's unhappy. He's perfectly fine, you know, to a degree. We're talking about these superficial problems, not, it's not lying or sex or whatever. It's these superficial problems that I'm gonna,
Bless you.
thank you.
Here's the thing. Oh, yes, it's something that bothers you, but you're in a relationship. I'm saying this in general as well. If there's something that bothers you, it may not be up to them to make the changes at first because they're not aware of it. But it is up to you to come and talk about it and see how you can both find a middle ground, because that's what relationships are about, is finding the compromise where you don't have to give up your values or morals or yourself or whatever it is. It's just finding a middle ground of compromise and how you can each help each other feel more comfortable in that situation or in those kind of predicaments, let's call them.
Yeah, I agree, and it's, you know, you'll have people saying, well, why can't I do it? So have you never told them to do this? And they said, well, no, they need to guess. Well, no, you need to tell them.
No.
It's, you know, when you're in a healthy, you know, exchange, when there's no gaslighting, there's no manipulation, there's no toxicity and things like that. And honestly,
Yes.
that's most of the time. I mean, you've got these trigger, like these buzzwords of, you know, he's gaslighting me. And in French, we have this type that I don't really know how to translate it to English, but in French, it's pervers narcissique, which in English would
Something with
translate.
narcissists.
Pardon?
Something with narcissists.
Yeah, something with narcissism was just like this guy. They enjoy like manipulating you in a negative way, and so, you know, you've got this category of guys that are like horrible, and then you've just got
Yeah.
these guys that are just, you know, being a bit clumsy and being a bit, but they've somehow fallen into that category as well. And it's like you need to calm down with these buzzwords of just, you know, kind of like bullying and things like that. You know, there's bullying and then there's just accidental kids will be kids. And, you know, you need to, we all need to just take a chill pill and just refocus our energy on what we find negative and what we find positive.
Yeah. And we need to talk about the things that bother us, not bottle them up and not say, oh, why aren't they doing something about it? Because they may not be aware of it and they don't know that it's bothering you. And a lot of times people are not aware of what they're doing, or they're not used to being in a relationship. And you need to talk to them about it and express what you're feeling and what's bothering you without being accusatory, and just being open minded and just trying to express yourself. Again, I keep saying this, and I talk about it with my boyfriend a lot, where we don't have a lot of arguments, but if we argue, I'm like, I'm not trying to win this battle. I'm not trying to win this this argument. I'm trying to solve it, and I'm trying to come together and have mutual understanding. And that should be the goal at the end of the day. And if they can't accept that, and if they don't want to change, and if they can't show up for you in the way that you want them to, then no matter how much you want them to be, they may just not be for you. And it's sad and unfortunate, but it just is what it is. And a lot of times we find ourselves in these predicaments because we hold on too tight to someone who just doesn't fit into our lives. And we try to fit a puzzle piece that just doesn't belong to that puzzle. And so we end up being frustrated and angry and wasting time. And I'm not sure exactly how I got here, but it's important to raise things as they come along and not wait for them and not sweep them under the rug, and just solve them, or just figure out as early as possible if this
Mm.
person is willing to be flexible with you and
Yeah,
if they're wrong for you.
I was thinking about this, and like just before we called, I, you know, kind of perused social media and rewatched that video, and you sent me a
Hmm.
video about, there's a difference between kind of like the love and then the need and the like filling a void, and there's a
Yeah,
difference. And it's true, and love should always just be a bit of a bonus. And so, circle back to you, I was thinking, what are we going to talk about today, and being single and things like that. And sometimes when JT and I kind of get frustrated with each other, and when or whatever, in my previous relationships, I would, if ever I would get frustrated with a boyfriend, I would have this mentality of, it's fine, I'll find somebody else.
yeah,
Whereas with JT now, if we get frustrated with each other, which it doesn't happen very often, but a couple of times we had, some big arguments where I was like, oh, maybe I'm just going to be better off single. And I think that thought process shows how healthy this relationship is, because
yeah,
of the work that I did of like being single. And yes, things went, between my previous relationship and JT, it went quite kind of fast. But because I know I'm not afraid to be single, and I know, like, I spend time with myself, and I know who I am, and I know my worth and things like that, it leads to this relationship where I love him, and he's here because it's him and I love him, not because I need a relationship and I need to be kind of like, okay, he's not feeling these needs, I'm going to be getting those needs met by somebody else, if that makes sense.
definitely. And the video I sent you, I think, really connects well with the topic we're talking about, and being single, what we wanted to talk about today, where he says that, which can be very controversial, but he starts off by saying that most people don't really experience true love. They experience attachment and desperation and need, and how usually what happens is that two people come together expecting to complete each other. They come together as two halves. So you're more scared of losing one another because they complete you. And so you're starting to play games
Yeah.
or manipulate each other, a lot of times subconsciously, to try and keep them from leaving. You're more scared of them leaving, and it puts a lot of pressure on that relationship, and it just makes everything so much more intense. Whereas when you come together as two whole complete beings, you're more harmonious, there's more synergy, there's just more space to be two whole individuals and two people in a relationship. Actually, my best friend sent me this video saying, I think what you have is true love for this reason, which I found incredible. It was like such an amazing thing to see, that someone could see that about me from the outside. Where I was single for 7 years without a serious relationship, and in the past few years of my singlehood, I was working on myself. I wasn't focused on trying to find a relationship. I wasn't focused on going on day after day after day. I was focusing on being a whole being by myself, on not being desperate to find someone, on having a full, fulfilling life on my own. Not only because it's my life and I need to live it, but also because I don't know if and when I'll find someone. And if I don't, then what am I supposed to do? Just waste my life away? So I decided that I'm going to be a complete being on my own, and I'm not going to search for someone to complete me. I'm going to complete myself. And so when I did find someone as a whole complete being that did a lot of work on herself, it's become one of the most healthiest relationships I've ever, it's the healthiest relationship I've ever had, for that exact reason. Because we've both done a lot of soul searching and work on ourselves. We've both built a life for ourselves without depending on each other. And so that allows us to start this relationship from a healthier vantage point of not depending on each other to lift us up, to make us happy, to make us strong, to fill our time up. They're not the sole source of our happiness.
Yeah.
And that is when you find your your relationship. I feel like a lot of times people completely miss the point. They try to find a relationship that will fix them and help their loneliness and help their happiness, when reality they need to fix their own happiness and loneliness and strength and whatever it is, and the relationship will come after.
Yeah, exactly. And it will help with kind of finding that right person, because you hear about all of these toxic relationships and things like that, and there are some toxic relationships, but I think just most of the time it's people bringing out the worst in each other, because they're just not ready for the right relationship. And I think a lot of people get into these relationships because society says you need to be 30 and in a relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even me today, I see women who are 30 and are married with 2 kids and earning like 100K a year, and I'm looking at them like, oh, that could that have been me? That Do I want that? Is that something I could? And so even with all of this work that I did on myself and how I offer to help people, that everybody gets the fact of the matter is everybody gets confronted with these kind of, this is what life should look like. And if you let that impact you too much, then that is what's going to lead you to the wrong decision making.
We tend to live our life according to what other people or society expects us to, rather than what we want to.
100%.
And for a long time, I was scared to be on my own. I stayed in the wrong relationship just because I was worried what people would think or say about it. I was scared I wouldn't find anyone else. And I felt like my clock was ticking. And if I didn't settle down right now, then I will never find someone, or I'll just keep looking. And that makes us do all of the wrong things when we stop listening to ourselves and only listen to other people and to the pressure around us. And I wish there wasn't that pressure, and I wish society would just live and let live and allow people to go through their own unique path without making them feel bad or guilty or pathetic or sad for who they are and for their status. But I don't see that changing anytime soon. And so we need to just live our lives and disregard any of the outside noise, and just fill our lives with the right people who won't make us feel bad, because there are enough people in the world that won't make us feel bad, and the right people will encourage us and they'll help us and they'll lift us up, and they won't bring us down because of our status. I mean, how ridiculous is that, to make someone feel bad when they already probably feel bad to begin with, because they're single, because they're not married with children by a certain age? I mean, the amount of comments that I got on my content with these trolls trying to like hit the most painful pain points, and saying that being single is pathetic and being single is sad and I shouldn't encourage people to be single, and and that having a family is the most fulfilling thing in the world. It's just really, first of all, it's an indication that they're the sad and pathetic people who are too bored with their own lives that have to go and destroy other people's.
I agree.
But like, why most single people are already feeling bad about it. Why? What is that going to contribute to the equation? Like, how is that going to change anything? Not to mention that being single isn't a curse. It isn't a punishment. It only is if you see it that way and if you don't do anything about it.
I completely agree. And obviously, if people are kind of, it's always a reflection. If you're feeling any type of negativity towards somebody else, you need to reflect inwards and like, okay,
Amen.
what's that? What's going on to me? What's going on with me? And I mean, let's say that they are right. Let's say that having a family is the most fulfilling thing you'll do in your life. Like, let's say, that's the truth. Let's admit,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say that. these people don't take into account that being in the wrong relationship is the most destroying thing ever. And it's like if being in the best relationship and having a family and is not for everyone, but let's say that it's the most fulfilling thing in the world. Let's say that that's a 10. Being in a bad relationship, it's a negative 100. Like it doesn't balance out. If you risk everything to be in this amazing relationship and have a family and end up in the wrong Ted Bundy relationship, it's you know it the reward does not outweigh the risk in a lot of situations, and that's why and I have been following your content for over a year now, and you have never encouraged anyone to be single. You have always said,
Mm-mm.
take the time to know who you are, and you can only do that by being single.
Yeah.
It's getting to know yourself, because once you know yourself, once you know who you are, and you take out the noise and you take out we talk about the stigma and social pressure, but family pressure and everything, and it's not even and when we say the word pressure, it doesn't have to be negative. It can be these just small comments that family members can do, can make lovingly, of just I'm worried about you, and very loving comments that kind of just become pressure. So, and you
Yeah.
can only kind of do that, by just focusing on yourself. And it would be selfish to do that whilst being in a relationship, because once you're in a relationship, then, you know, you are kind of a unit of just, there is some kind of, relying on each other. And so if you just kind of pull out of the relationship to focus on yourself, then your partner is kind of just, well, what am I supposed to do now, type of situation. Like,
Yeah, because there's a whole lot of work there is to do. I think even in relationships, you need to continue working on yourself. But when you haven't worked on yourself previously, then there's more work to do, and that takes more away from the relationship. But I'm going to backtrack a minute to what you said beforehand, and I'll work my way up to it. Being in the wrong relationship is going to cause you more harm than being single ever can. It will make you more miserable. It will ruin, it has more potential of ruining your life and wasting your time. And it can cause more damage where you're more traumatized and you have less trust, and it'll be harder to get attached to someone else, even if they are the right person for you. And again, I have never told anyone or encouraged anyone to be single or to leave a relationship. In fact, there's a lot of people that I've wanted to say to them, you need to break up. And I don't say that because that's a decision every person has to make for themselves. I am saying that if you find yourself to be single and you're struggling to find a relationship, then what's the point of chasing your own tail? You're already single. You don't know if and when you'll find someone. Take advantage of this time to make something of yourself and your life, to develop a healthy self relationship, to find your hobbies, your interests, to create a whole world of content that doesn't revolve around one specific relationship in your life. And when you do that, first of all, you'll attract better people and better relationships into your life. And you're at a better vantage point to find a relationship. If you're struggling to find a relationship with someone else, it's an indication that something's lacking in your own self relationship. And once you do that internal work, and especially if the other person has also done that work, you come together for a better relationship where you each allow the other person to continue to grow as an individual and as a unit together. And I believe that we should work on ourselves no matter our relationship status. But if you're starting to do all of the work only when you're in a relationship, then you're creating a whole jumbled mess because,
It's let
yeah,
let's say that to to fix yourself, no, it's just to make it simple, but you need 100
yeah,
days worth of work. You need just 100 days. If you're
yeah,
single, you can do 100 days in a row, and that will be that. But if you're in a relationship and you do 100 days in a row, then your relationship is going to be just, it's not going to flourish or anything. So if you're in a relationship, you're going to want to do maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week. But then that's 100 weeks, or you know, or 50 weeks, and and then so time just becomes much longer. And so it's just going to be, you're just going to be miserable for that much longer because you're not on the right priority, and you're not putting the pressure on the right, on the right situation. You're putting a weird strain on your relationship, and you're pressuring yourself to be quicker, whereas you just need to take the time for yourself. And so, but if
mhm,
you've done the work, as you've said, if you've done the work, then once you're in a relationship, you still, that work needs to be ongoing. But then you've got a strong base, and you can do that regularly, and not all day every day. I've I'm in a steady relationship, and I've still got a few couple nights a week where I'm just doing stuff for myself, and I mean, I'm sure you're the same. And I think it's, if you're single and you want to be in a relationship, you need to make sure that you want to be in a relationship for yourself and not for society. And you need to take the pressure off wanting to be in a relationship, and put it on wanting to be at least in a good relationship, if it's really overwhelming.
yeah.
And so, because you want to be in a good relationship, you want to focus your energy on who are you spending time with, how are you treating yourself, how do you expect others to treat you, and things like that.
Yeah. And if you only start your work when you're in a relationship, you're not going to be able to do it 100% because you're constantly worried about the other person. And even if they're giving you the space, you're going to feel bad about it and you're going to feel guilty. And so that's why I feel like it's so important to, I mean, we all have single periods. So why not take advantage of it to create a proper relationship with ourselves and to create a proper, fulfilling life for ourselves? And in my opinion, most arguments and most issues in relationships boil down to not being capable of being alone or not having your own life or your own hobbies or your own interests because you're basing too much of your life on that person and you're relying on them too much because you don't have a relationship with yourself, so or any hobbies or interests, so you don't enjoy spending time by yourself. You don't have a lot of other friends or other things going on for you, so you're constantly relying on that person and you're preventing them from living their own life because you want their full attention. And we've come to having your whole full lives, then it's much easier to continue growing together and moving forward because you each have your own thing going for you. So you're not depending on the other person to constantly be there and keep your life moving.
I completely agree. And to that effect, I was looking at Reddit earlier today, and one of the titles was, "Feels like one-sided effort. Should I end things now or give him another chance?" And then the text goes to, oh, he's done this a couple of times, and I talked about it, and I always feel like I'm the one going, canceling my own personal plans and to spend time with him. He's always prioritizing other things, and I'm the one that keeps doing this. It's like, no, just stop. He's not making you his priority. Don't make him yours.
Here's the thing. And again, this all circles back to having a relationship with yourself and a fulfilling life. When you have a relationship with yourself and a fulfilling life, then you don't feel as desperate to chase someone or to be with someone or to constantly worry, are they interested in me? Are they not interested in me? If they're not putting in the same effort that you are, then you go, bye-bye. There'll be a next person coming after you because you're not as worried to be on your own. And if you have to constantly worry whether or not they're interested, or if they're not putting in effort, or if you're the one who's constantly doing the chasing and the making the plans and the putting in the effort, then again they're likely just not that into you. And it circles back to if they wanted to, he would, which of course doesn't apply 100% of the time. But being now in a healthy relationship, I understand that a person who wants to be there and who wants to be an active part of your life finds the way to do so. It's never going to be convenient. It's never going to be easy. You're always going to have to make time, and it's going to take time. You don't have to throw everything away for the person in a beat of the heart. But like, I have no doubt in my mind right now, and from the beginning of my relationship, that my boyfriend wanted to spend time with me, that he was willing to make changes or put in the effort. And when it's the right person for you, when that person really wants to be with you, then they'll do that for you. And if they don't, then we say in Hebrew, where there's doubt, there's no doubt. If you have to doubt and if you have to give him another chance and another chance, and then he's not worth your chances.
I agree. I say give him or her the benefit of the doubt once.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it. Once. Any topic, any subject, you're allowed a miscommunication. You're allowed to have different boundaries. You're allowed to have different standards. And so for my client I was talking about, she was very busy at the beginning of when they were dating, like very, very busy and unavailable, and he was just overly keen. And I said,
mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like she's messing you around. It feels like you're desperate for a relationship and she is not. And so that's creating an imbalance between the two of you. So give her the benefit of the doubt once. Message me whenever you want to message her. And so turns out as soon as he started doing that, she gave her the space to flourish, gave her the space to kind of ask for his news and things like that. And so gave her the benefit of the doubt and it worked out. But if you gave him the benefit of the doubt once, didn't work out, give up.
Yeah, it's important to also differentiate here and to see, because again, I've always been like, I'm always busy. There's always something going on, and I'm always, it's hard to make space, especially when I'm so used to being on my own and not having a boyfriend or someone to start making space and time for. And so it's important to make that differentiation between someone who just needs a moment to reorient or find spaces or takes the time to up, and someone who's just really not interested, someone who doesn't put in any effort. And which is why it's so important to communicate and understand why the person is doing what they're doing, because the person who really is interested will communicate that, will say, I'm sorry, I'm not making enough time, I'm sorry, I'm not as communicative right now, it's a bit hectic, I do want to make time. And to understand that it may take time until you find the ball rolls cohesively.
I think that's a good place to wrap up.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Communication is key, and let people show you who they are. If they say they will do something, give them the time to let them do it. And if they don't do it, then that's your answer.
Yeah, and just be open, be communicative, don't be defensive, and don't be on the attack. I think it's just a matter of being open-minded and communicating. And again, when you have a strong, solid base with yourself, you find a calmness in you that isn't as desperate or as needy. So, but enough of our voices. Let us know in the comments, wherever you're watching this. I'm fascinated to hear if anyone else has found that they are able to build a better relationship by building one with themselves first.
Yeah. And how you did it.
And how you did it. Yes, give us some tips.
Instagram, YouTube, Spotify.
Yes, that Pop Culture Cupid, come join us.
Bye.
Bye.
And again, I never found the